So okay then. After quite a long time, we are back for more Awesome of the Rebellion. Of course, this chapter was uploaded like 2 months ago or so, but
January.
or no, it's just 1 month. But yeah,
A little over 1 month.
yeah. But we're only recording it now because I wanted to get through Light and Dark Do Part 8 first.
Yes.
So,
As well as our awesome project that we will be actually uploading on a schedule.
indeed!
Yay!
Our awesome project, which I suppose at the time of uploading this, our viewers may not actually have heard of yet. That is, unless I've already started uploading it by the time I upload this. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that.
Well, either way, let's not spoil them too much.
Nope. So, shall we just get started then?
Yes, and as usual, I'm just here for the buffet.
Yep.
That is to say, laughing insanely over the things that I've already kind of read over and find completely.
Yes. So, Chapter 14, Christmas Special, uploaded on the 28th of January. And of course, even though we've now spoken to Suiraphla and so know that his voice is absolutely nothing like the one that I give him, I'm still going to continue doing that.
Of course.
Merry Christmas, everyone! In celebration of the holidays, I'm going to make this chapter a Christmas special side story. Since it's not continuing directly after chapter. Why am I having trouble saying chapter?
Chapty.
Since it's not continuing directly after chapter 13, just assume it takes place. Just assume it takes pals somewhere. Just assume it takes pals sometime between R1 and R2. And also, sorry for not.
Keep that in mind, everyone. Keep that in mind.
Yes. Also, sorry about not updating in a while. I was busy Christmasing with my family. D. Another part will be up soon. It was Christmas time. All of the world was celebrating, but Asia was more than any other country. This was because the communists and British outlawed Christmas because they are evils. But then Awesome killed them, so now Christmas is back, and all the Asians are super happy about it.
Oh, wait, this was between R1 and R2.
Yes.
So this is before Mao's revenge, or Mao's betrayal, or whatever.
Also, Asia, I'm pretty sure that, not all of Asia is Christian. If anything, I'd say most of Asia is not Christian, but you probably know more about geography than I do, though.
Well, I will say that the fact that Britannia was banning Christmas and the Asians were super happy about it. First of all, I hate it when people use Asian as a blanket term. But I'm going to keep my whole giant boxes in which we organize races and bunches of races commentary out of this. And just say, what?
Indeed. So, Awesome was flying over to Moscow in Liberty Prime.
Why does he have Liberty Prime?
So this would have
R1
to happen
and R2.
during chapter 10. Literally in the time span between him getting Liberty Prime and fusing it with Ass Kicker. Even thought he so destroyed Moscow back when Luch used it as his sky fortress. It was made with Russian engineering and therefore could never really be destroyed. And there we have that being countered instantly, because that happened after he got Ass Kicker Prime Mark Liberty, so... yeah. One paragraph and already we've discovered that this does not fit into the timeline in the slightest.
Contradict.
It was all black. It was all black and smoky and had fields of new...
Why is Smokey capitalized? It was all black and it was Smokey Bear.
I suppose. Alternately, it was Smoker from One Piece, whose nickname is often translated as Smokey.
Well, apparently it was all black and uppercase Smokey.
Yeah. It was all black and smoky and had fields of nuclear waste around it that made nuclear enamels, and all of the funny spiral tops were missing except one. Awesome.
Giant fields of nuclear waste. Why? Okay, suddenly this is Adventure Time, or in the past Adventure Time, when there were apparently whole rivers of nuclear waste.
Awesome.
I love Adventure Time.
Awesome.
Wow, such apocalypse. Sorry, go ahead.
Awesome. Flew asking her prime onto the one... Awesome. Flew asking her prime onto the one spiral top. He crashed through the side, which exploded, and so a bunch of people inside and melted their faces into jello with... his Liberty lasers. But then he remembered the commies were gone and he owned Russia. Whoops! Sorry about that, he said. And everyone laughed except the dead people because they were killed.
And everyone's just cool with what he does because he's awesome.
Yes, and as we all know, he is a noble and heroic person who never does anything bad. All of awesome friends were waiting there for him. Lee and Orange-kun and Colin and the samurai boss whose name I forget, and Shirley and the high school girl and Tianzi were there. S2 was there too, and she was wearing a sexy elf outfit with elf ears that looked... This should not be hard to say. Why is this hard to say? And she was wearing a sexy elf outfit with elf ears that looked sexy. Tempted to just leave it as that.
Can I just say, retroactively, that, the high school was there.
Oh, yeah.
The samurai boss whose name I forgot.
I believe it was Todo, but yeah.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It's not a difficult name to remember. And the high school.
Yeah, since I got that wrong, I suppose I'll have to say that again. Lee and Orange-kun and Colin and the samurai boss whose name I forget, and Shirley and the high school and Tianzi were there. S2 was there too, and she was wearing a sexy elf outfit with elf ears that looked sexy. So were all the other girls. Hey there, S2. You look sexy. I am Dark Yagami.
Yes, I was thinking that too.
Awesome said that S2 made a blush. Then they had the sex on the floor. You know, it's been a really long time since I got that bit of wrong grammar around. Usually it's they were sexing and stuff like that.
Nope.
Shirley and Colin and some other girls also didn't know joined in too. No, Shirley and Colin and some other girls also didn't know joined in too. Joined into.
Some girls he didn't know.
Sluts.
That's honestly technically rape. That they're having sex with him and he has no idea who they are.
Yeah. Those girls are now the worst characters in this story.
Yes.
Afterwards, Vladimir Putin walked over. Also made Putin the president of Russia after saving the country. This was because even though he was...
Awesome! Everything is now your fault. Awesome! Everything is your fault. Putin!
Yeah, brilliant idea. This was because even though he was king, he wanted there to be freedom and justice, so he let Russia and China and Japan be their own countries, with their own presidents who worked for Awesome. Merry Christmas, Your Highness, said Putin. I just finished killing all the poor people.
Putin is incredibly in character.
I just finished killing all the poor people in Russia like you asked me to.
Putin is incredibly in character.
Awesome smiled and everyone cheered. Awesome didn't want there to be any poor people around since poorness made people sad and he didn't want anyone being sad during Christmas.
So he has them killed instead.
Because he is a nice and thoughtful person.
Actually in the text there.
Indeed. Also, they might have been commies and they didn't want them stealing rupees, Russia's national currency, with welfare.
Rupees? Rupees. This is not Legend of Zelda, except, Suzaku is secretly Link, so I guess it is.
Well, isn't rupees also the national currency of some actual country? I mean, I seem to remember seeing them betting for it in a James Bond movie once.
I don't know, I thought it was rubles.
Well, maybe it is now and it was rupees before, I don't know. I don't feel like checking it right now. That must have been a lot of work, said Awesome. Not really. We just fed them to the nuclear monsters outside, Putin said, and they laugh again. That's great to hear, Awesome again. Why don't you start the Christmas party without me? I need to go to the washroom, he said and winked at S2, because he was actually going to have sex with her. Awesome.
Okay. I just looked it up. The Russian currency is the ruble. The Indian currency is the rupee.
Oh, I see. Well, glad we've got that settled.
Just because I'm in charge of I am the officer of education in these stories.
Yes. Awesome and S2 went upstairs for sex while everyone else got the party started. The Black Knights brought Pizza Hut and everyone ate it while getting drunk on eggnog.
Pizza and eggnog.
Can you get drunk on eggnog?
If it is alcoholic eggnog, yeah. It's just everyone always seems to drink non-alcoholic eggnog, but eggnog is traditionally alcoholic.
Oh.
It's just, most people, so that everyone can enjoy it, get non-alcoholic eggnog.
Right. Everyone was happy, but then there was a knock at the elevator. Lee walked over and answered it and got punched in the face. When the door opened, there was a dozen dudes in black armored suits with black masks with guns and blades and gun blades, which looked evil.
Wait, did they look evil or did the gun blades look evil?
Well, I suppose if it was the people who looked evil, then it would be who looked evil, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I can't tell with Suiraphla's grammar.
Leading them was a tall green monster man who was making an evil grin. So, how should I voice the Grinch, then?
Not actually over the top, just sort of, a very creaky voice. Very creaky, pensive. And have you ever seen the original, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas?
I don't think I have, actually.
Like, because the narrator does a good... I mean, it's narrated by one guy, but the voice he does for the Grinch is good. It's just sort of creaky, very pensive and displeased.
So perhaps like, I am the Grinch, and I am here to steal Christmas.
That's actually very good. Yes.
He shouts. His minions walked over to everyone and poked them with their swordy guns, which hurt. Hand over all your Christmas. Oh wait, that wasn't actually the Grinch, but they all have the same voice now. They said and shot the samurai guy. Whose name I still don't remember. To death to show they meant business.
And they broke his bread maker.
Everyone handed over their Christmas presents since they didn't want anyone else dying since blood got the floor messy.
Everyone's priorities are massively out of order here.
Grinch laughed like a Bond villain and had his minions crush a bunch of the presents with their jackboots. Then they ate all the Pizza Hut and drank all the eggnog and chopped the Christmas tree down with their swords and ripped off the Christmas lights to tie the hostages up and kick the puppy.
Just to make them extra evil.
Yes. The Grinch laughed. Excellent. Now split up and search the Kremlin. Kill anyone you find and steal their presents. I started laughing there again. Kill anyone you find and steal their presents. He laughed, and they did.
They died? Sorry, that's more of our other project that was a frequent typo.
Yeah, I've seen that typo elsewhere too. Like in My Immortal, where they asked to have a lead snigger, but he did. Some bunch of the minion went to the washrooms. They shot all the people who were in the stalls one at a time. When they reached the last stall, though, the door exploded and flew out and crushed the closest bad guy. Awesome was inside, and so was S2, and they were naked because they were both sexing. Back to the regular misspelling of it.
Oh, and here comes that part.
That part indeed.
I can't believe that. Ugh.
Bastard. We will kill you, said the one bad guy and charged. But then he slipped on the floor because it was covered in cum from the sexing and fell on his head. From the sexing and fell and his head popped off. Yeah. Ew.
Why? Ew.
I don't think so, said Awesome nakedly as he stepped out. More bad guys charged and shot guns, but Awesome's eye glue with Geass.
His eye glue? He has eye glue?
What? I'm going to assume that's a misspelling of glowed. Suddenly, all the bad guys exploded! And that's because I got a new Geass while sexing S2! The explosion Geass!
In place of what?
Well, I suppose that would be in place of the pirate Geass?
But why?
I don't know.
This is in between R1 and R2, apparently. So why did he then have the pirate Geass later? Or did it replace his life Geass? And we just know because he used that during chapter 13.
I suppose he just replaced the explosion Geass with the pirate Geass then.
By having another sex with S2.
I suppose. Awesome looted the minion whose head fell out of his clothes. Awesome looted the minion whose head fell off for his clothes/armor. Then he noticed something strange. Under his uniform, the bad guy wasn't a human, but a snowman!
Dun dun dun!
Santa Christ! Awesome cursed. They're made of snow! Then he saw that all the bad guys he exploded left snow on the walls instead of blood and bones and intestines like people would. I didn't...
Actually, intestines was spelled correctly.
And I kind of put the pressure a bit wrong there. Then he saw that all the bad guys he exploded left snow on the walls instead of blood and bones and intestines like people would. Also, nice curse there. Santa Christ.
Santa Christ.
Santa Christ, Santa Christ, we all love Santa Christ. I don't know if you get that reference, but...
What are you referencing?
The Nostalgia Critic.
Yeah, no. As much as I am familiar with how awesome the Nostalgia Critic is, there are many things I have not yet had time to watch.
Right. Meanwhile, downstairs, the Grinch was pacing back and forth like mad. Grr, he exclaimed. What is taking my snowmen so long? And then there was a boom, bang, boom noise coming from the chimney. Everyone turned around and saw a dead snowman body come down the chimney. There was a sign on it that the Grinch There was a sign on it that the Grinch walked over and read, "Now I have a machine sword, ho ho ho!" And then the body exploded. Or was that supposed to be awesome?
Well, considering it ends with ho ho ho, I think it's Santa Claus.
I'm just going to play it safe and just assume that the Grinch read it out loud. Now I have a machine sword. Ho, ho, ho. And then the body exploded. The explosion killed a bunch of people, but not the Grinch, because he was too tough for that. Grrr, said Grinch as he wiped the black explosion stuff off his face. It's
Just like via cartoon.
It's just like they say. If you want something done right, kill the guy who's stopping you.
That's totally how the old saying goes.
Yes. Grinch walked over to one of his minions, only he wasn't a snowman wearing black armor. Only he wasn't a snowman wearing black armor. He was a human being wearing a black badass outfit with badass spiky black hair and a dragon tattoo and skull pauldrons.
He wasn't a human being, he was just a human.
I'm going to say that was good enough. Zaber El Badass. Go deal with this motherfucker for Britannia. So the Grinch is in alignment with Britannia.
Well, they didn't like that the Chiners were celebrating Christmas.
Oh, of course, so that makes perfect sense. He said, and all the snowmen went, "Hail Britannia." Zaber evil laughed as he bit the head of a gingerbread man that Shirley spent a lot of time baking for awesome, which made her sad and cry.
Oh,
This is so tragic.
so tragic and so well written. Sorry, I really can't fake crying for something like this.
I'll do what I just did to that gingerbread man to him.
He shouted and started climbing up the chimney. Putin was not amused. He stared at the Grinch angrily with his cold Russian eyes, which was so intense it caused some of the snowmen to melt. His cold Russian eyes caused the snowmen to melt. Just in the context of using the word cold there, I feel like that's a bit of a weird thing for it to do.
I have nothing to say.
Let us go, or else. Everyone who was a bad guy laughed. Or else what? Oh my freaking god. Putin started screaming like Goku when he entered Super Saiyan, only he sounded like a bear. He lifted his back up with so much strength it lifted all the hostages who he was tied. It lifted all the hostages who he was tied to with the Christmas lights. Then he did a backflip and everyone came falling down and crushed the Grinch.
Why does Putin have Super Saiyan powers? I thought only, like, the super communists had, like, Super Saiyan God powers.
No, they were Super Saiyan gods. He is just a regular Super Saiyan.
Okay, so when you turn communist, you manage to achieve the level of Super Saiyan God.
Yes. And I suppose I really shouldn't be bothered by how you are pronouncing that, because while that pronunciation is wrong, it's also the pronunciation that everyone else uses. So yeah.
I apologize that I am only, casually aware of this information and not an amazing fanboy like you are. This is why you are Senpai, and I am just NIMBY.
Well, in fairness though, yeah, the English dub of the show does pronounce it as Saiyan, but looking at how it's spelled, that doesn't make any sense. It should be pronounced Saiyan. Anyway, off-topic rant over.
But you can't make the pun of "I'm just saying" then.
True. The snowmen screamed and charged with their guns and swords. Putin flipped around again and began kicking them so fast and hard with his legs, it was almost like Suzaku, and the snowmen exploded. He picked up one of their guns with his legs and shot a bunch of snowmen in their carrot noses, destroying the source of their power. grabbed some more with his legs and he grabbed some more with his legs and judo threw them into each other until they were all dead. Putin picked up a sword with his legs and cut the Christmas lights to free everyone. When he did though, the Grinch climbed out of the body pile and escaped too.
Why is Putin doing everything with his legs?
I don't know. Putin threw his sword at the Grinch, which was covered in electricity from cutting through the wires. The Grinch laughed and his eye flashed Geass and the sword stopped. Baka, you can't stop me with that. I have the elemental Geass. It gives me power over all the elements, he said. Grinch licked all the lightning off the sword and then spat it back at Putin, who used a hostage for cover. Grinch escaped through the chimney. Actually, if he was using lightning, would using a hostage for cover even do any good? I mean, aside from how terrible that is.
At least it was in character.
Yeah. Meanwhile, on the roof, Awesome exploded every snowman in his way as he ran up to the roof. If I can get to my private helicopter in time, I can escape safely, he said.
And leave all of the hostages
his priority
behind.
is escaping. Not saving his friends or anything, just escaping.
Because Awesome is a kind and noble person.
Our protagonist, ladies and gentlemen.
So many tropes of being an awful, awful person.
But then, when he got to the roof, his helicopter exploded! Zabrel Badass walked through the flaming wreckage, which actually felt really nice since it was cold outside. He was holding a rocket minigun. And sure, because it was cold outside, walking through fire was just comfortable.
Well, I mean, his nightmare was on fire when they were fighting in Russia because it was cold outside.
That is true.
The story, it seems like being on fire is okay so long as it's cold around you.
Awesome. It's great to see you again.
He lied.
Now I can finish killing you.
Not before I finish killing you for finishing... Not before I finish killing you for finishing killing my parents!
But he didn't finish killing your parents. I mean, he might have killed your parents, but he didn't finish the job because the Emperor is still running around alive, which means he has done something that unfinished the job.
And then again, Suiraphla said that would eventually be addressed, so...
Yes.
Let's just put that aside
stop me from
now.
griping about it. Anyway.
Let's see if your explosions are a match for mine.
Zaber shooting. Zaber shooting and shouts his minigun.
Instead of shouted and shoot his minigun.
Hundreds of rockets flew out. Hundreds of rockets flew out, and Awesome shot back at them with his explosion Geass. I don't like how I said the end of that. And Awesome shot back at them with his explosion Geass. The explosions were so huge and powerful they destroyed the roof, then started destroying every floor in the Kremlin until they were at the ground floor.
So I think all the hostages are dead.
Probably. But
Not
then
that it
again,
matters.
Awesome has the life Geass, so he can just revive them. So
Yeah.
who cares if they're dead?
Yeah.
Zaber kept yelling as he squeezed the trigger, but then stopped when he realized he was out of missiles.
Shit.
Awesome walked over and used his military training to disarm Zaber and break his arm. Military training. Just general military training. There is a lot of that in the story.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh my gosh! I think this next line of dialogue is a nod and a wink to us.
Quite possible. Oh, and
Because
just
how
a
often
random
is this
thing I feel like mentioning. In Pokemon Y, I've got a Greninja whose name is Zaber. Of course, it's kind of ruined by the fact that it is also a female Greninja, but Ninja. So, Saber. It's over! I found out your evil pal!
Oh, really?
Saber. Yes! Awesome. You're not just working with the Grinch to steal Christmas. You're going it for Britannia!
But the Grinch was already openly working for Britannia.
Yes!
How did you figure that out?
Asked Saber. I heard the snowman yelling Hail Britannia down the chimney! Awesome.
But the Grinch already...
But that's not the real plan, said a voice, and it was the Grinch! He was standing on top of the chimney, which had survived the explosion. He laughed as he dropped down and tore off the Christmas stockings and stepped on them. After this, we're gonna steal Christmas from Britannia, and then America, and then all the rest of the world. And then we'll destroy all the Christmas cheer. Grinch was making evil to laugh when he suddenly heard jingling bells and stopped. Up in the sky there was a sleigh with flying reindeers, and a guy as fat and old as the Emperor, going ho ho ho! It's Santa! Awesome said, and everyone cheered. Santa flew his sleigh towards the chimney. Grinch laughed evil. My oldest rival, we meet again. He flashed his Geass eye and the Christmas tree started spiraling up to Santa. He used his Geass again and fire appeared at the bottom of the chimney. Appeared. Yeah. Santa kept going ho ho ho, and Rudolph destroyed the Christmas tree using his laser nose. What?
That's awesome.
All the other reindeer used ice magic to freeze the fire. Freeze the fire.
All of the other reindeer
Used ice magic to freeze the fire. Grinch ordered
the evil Grinch with a lot of displeasure and ire.
Brilliant. Grinch ordered his snowmen to shot at Santa's sleigh. Before they could, though, they got shot in the nose by arrows. Santa's elves jumped out of some nuclear Christmas trees and began shooting at the snowmen with their bows. Legolas and Tauriel were leading them and kicking lots of ass. The hell?
Elves.
Well, yeah. They shot arrows at Grinch who pushed them away with the wind. Then they charged the snowmen and there was lots of deading on both sides. And then the nuclear monsters showed up from outside the Kremlin and started eating them. The chimney exploded as Santa's sleigh rammed through the bottom. Bricks flew everywhere and killed some people. This is the final straw! You've stolen Christmas for the last time! Olded Santa. It is a shame that it must end this way, brother. Dun dun dun. Grinch laughed still. End this way for you. You're a pacifist, remember? You can't kill me. Santa smiled. Ho ho ho! But I brought a friend who can. Luftkissen Parazug. Okay.
Look up how to pronounce it on Google Translate.
Well, actually, I think I can. I'm going to try at least. he. Okay, so it's a dude. Just wasn't sure if it was a dude or not. This person here.
It's kind of a like goat monster thing, a humanoid goat monster creature thing.
Mein Luftkissen-Fahrzeug ist vulnerable, yelled the Krampus. He jumped out of Santa's sleigh with an MP40 and shot the Grinch.
Actually, incredibly in character.
The Grinch screamed as his body was ripped apart. The Grinch screamed as his body was ripped apart by bullets. The Krampus jumped on him and began ripping him. The Krampus jumped on him and the Krampus jumped on him and began ripping him apart with his claws and fangs. Mein Herz brennt. Feuerfrei. Santa just went ho 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 as the Krampus ate Grinch. So Santa is a pacifist, but he is completely okay with the Krampus eating and killing the Grinch horribly.
Apparently.
I would have thought that being a pacifist also means not approving of violence. Yeah, what do I know?
I will not do it, because I don't like violence. Then I command you to kill all the Japaneses. Okay. Lowest moment in this story.
He walked over to Osman Co, who bowed because that is what you do when you see Santa. Ho, ho, ho! My children, you have all helped save Christmas and made my birthday a wonderful one, he ordered. And because of that, I have gifts for all of you. First, he gave Awesome a present. For Awesome, who has learned the true meaning of generosity and kindness. A machine sword! But not just any machine sword, the most powerful one in the universe! Strong enough to rival Saber's legendary Z-Saber!
Do you think it's actually Dark's machine sword?
Possibly.
Because he was dead proud of it.
Yes. Second was Putin. Under Putin, the most loyal of Awesome's companions! I am offering you personal kung fu lessons at my dojo in the North Pole, he said. Putin and Santa bowed to each other. Third was S2. Onto S2! Here are some condoms so you can have better sex with Awesome, he said, and went ho ho ho.
Incredibly progressive view of how female characters ought to be treated. This character is so forward thinking and yay!
Yay! But while everyone was celebrating, there was a missile explosion! It killed a bunch of hostages! So apparently all the hostages weren't dead. It killed a bunch of hostages, which caused blood to explode everywhere, and since the missile was a nuclear, it exploded green, so it was red on green, which are the colors of Christmas! Flying in the sky was Uber Death Reaper 9001.
Awesome!
Shouted Saber.
This isn't over yet. We still have to have an epic nightmare fight.
I agree, said Awesome. He jumped into Askier Prime, which was still parked in the Kremlin, and flew into the sky. Uber Death Reaper 9001 swung its Z-Saber, and Askier Prime swung its machine sword. So now he has Askier Prime, then. He didn't at the beginning. Continuity. There was a shockwave so powerful it blew up all the snow in Serbia and created a massive snow tornado. Also Serbia again.
Apparently.
Awesome and Saber sword fought nightmares inside the nuclear ice tornado while the elves and snowmen and nuclear monsters fought below. Santa flew up in his sleigh and waved at them. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night! he said, and winked at the viewer. So, dum dum dum. Oh, dum dum dum. Oh wait. I mean, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Yes, I
We will
like how
settle
he's
down with
spelling it
Christmas and raise a
as in
family.
marrying someone. Let's
You
go
know-
get married to Christmas.
You know, in its own weird way, this story sort of could be its own, like, anime. It's so far removed from the original series and absurd. It's just like we're constantly poking fun at Awesome for being kind and noble and generous.
Yeah.
It's a very distinct AU, where a good Christmas means everyone is warring and beating each other up, and elves are fighting evil snowmen, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
Although, again, I don't know what the point was of noting that this chapter takes place between R1 and R2, because it clearly doesn't.
Indeed.
It takes place after the event stop following R2 and start following their own whatever this is.
Yes. Indeed.
But it just awesome. You were flying over Moscow in Liberty Prime, but didn't you fuse Liberty Prime with your nightmare when you were still in Alaska? Was it Alaska or Canada?
I think it was Alaska.
Wasn't it Anchorage, I think? Maybe.
Oh, yes.
Point being, though. Just, you never actually flew around in that thing.
Indeed.